Hello my gorgeous loves out there and welcome. In today's video we are going to get into a good old palette ranking. I actually have 16 palettes I think here to go over, a lot more than some of my recent palette rankings, so I have a lot of things to share, a lot of thoughts to give you. But before we get into this video, if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Bri and I'm just a crazy lover of all things beauty. I love to post a lot of fun, colorful makeup content. I like to do a lot in indie makeup. So if that is what you're into, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. But with that being said, let's get into this video. So my little buttercups out there, welcome. We got some palettes to get into. I'm gonna give you all of my thoughts on all of these products, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly. I mean, there's not really much ugly in this one. Honestly, the ranking is really just more based on personal preference, color story, how versatile it is, how unique it is to my collection, how likely I am to use it. I factor in different things like that. I don't think there's really a quality issue with any of the palettes in this ranking. It's been a while since I've come across a bad palette or a palette with poor quality. It's been a long time. I feel like most brands have stepped up their game with their shadow formula and quality. So I'm gonna go over all of them from least favorite to most favorite and just give you all the nitty gritty, all the details. But before we get into this ranking, if you're curious about this eye look, I did a little get ready with me talking about my wedding, my honeymoon, my whole collaboration, just chat and caught up with you guys and did this look with my Tropical Nights collection with ItsBel Cosmetics, which is still available. It'll be linked below. You can use thank you 10 to get a discount and all that. But if you want to see how I put this look together, I use these beauties right here. But now let's get into the ranking. So the first one in the ranking is the Avatar The Last Airbender palette. This is really good quality and I love it, and I bought the whole bundle, that's why I have this one, but it's not my go-to color story. It is more nudie and more warm. I love a lot of cool tones, even though I do have some warm shades with the goldy yellow over here. But I typically don't go to a color story like this. I do appreciate the pop of red in here. And you can do a smoky red kind of look with it. But these are just not the shades I go towards very often. This is from Litho. I love the Avatar Last Airbender, all about it. So I had to pick up the collection. And this was part of it. It's just not a go-to. If this was a standalone product, I probably wouldn't have picked it up because it's not my kind of color story. But the formula, the metallics, the mattes are excellent within this palette. It's the only reason. Then I have this other palette right here. This is from Dee Dee Signature. This is part of the Bloom collection with Makeup on Your Radar. Love her. She has such a good beauty news Instagram. If you want to get all the beauty news, check her out. I'll link her Instagram below. But she did a wonderful little collab. The only reason why this is towards the end, the bottom of the ranking, is because it is a limited color story. There's not so much that I can do with this one. And I do have to pull in other palettes to make it work for my makeup aesthetic and what I like. When it comes to color combos, I think the formula is nice. I had no issues with the mattes. I thought the shimmers were really pretty and sparkly and creamy. I'm just not as excited by this color story, and there's other palettes within the collection that ranked higher. But this one, it was just not my favorite color setup. But the formula and everything is really nice, and super congratulations to Makeup on Your Radar, Jamie. They did sell out of this collection, so a lot of people loved it. This color story just wasn't exactly my style, but they sent it to me in PR. Love them. I appreciate that Jamie wanted to do that for me and send this and have me give my thoughts. So I really do appreciate that. But just know, this is a really nice quality palette. Then I have the Avatar The Last Airbender. This is the the water palette, which it's a blue palette, and I love me my blues with one little brown moment here, but it's a little too monochromatic for me. I do have a lot of monochromatic blue palettes in my collection, and nowadays I just think I prefer things with more variety, and I have a lot of palettes with blue in it, so I wouldn't necessarily think to reach for this if I wanted to do a blue look, because I have a lot of colorful palettes that have these kind of colors already in it. But the quality is excellent. It's really good blue mattes, really beautiful sparkly blue shimmers. If you're looking for a very blue monochromatic palette, you cannot go wrong with this one. I just am not like a monochromatic fan anymore. And of course, this is more of a monochromatic series. I really bought it because I love lethal and I love the theme of the collection, the design, everything. And it makes sense. It's a water palette, so it's supposed to be monochromatic. But if it's in terms of ranking, it's not going to rank as high as things that have a lot of color options in my collection. Then I have the Elegance palette. This is a part of the Bloom collection as well, with Makeup on Your Radar and Dee Signature. And this one is a more greeny color story. There's some blue and then there's this beautiful, stunning shimmer. I love it. The only thing is I feel like because this leans brown, I feel like it works better with like nudie shades with it. I mean, you can do it with the green, but I think maybe, which is weird for me to say, if they included some brown mattes maybe instead of the blue, I think the color story would make a little bit more sense, because this is just a very brown leaning metallic. It does have green to it, but it's more on a nudie vibe. But I still do think the formula is really nice in here, and it's a beautiful like multi-chrome, shifty, intense shade. It's just also limited. I do have to pull in other palettes to create the perfect look, because I do like a mix of light and darker shades, but it's really nice and it's pretty. I mean, I love me my greens and my blues. Then I have the Avatar The Last Airbender palette. This is the Earth palette. See, I think if this was more like this, like with the browns in it, I think that would have made more sense than the blues. But I love blues and greens together, don't get me wrong. But look at this. It's really beautiful, gorgeous, different kind of green options in here with browns, but it still leans pretty monochromatic at the end of the day. And I have a lot of green shadows since I love greens. It's like one of my most favorite colors to wear, but it's super high quality and it's the earth theme. So I get the greens and the browns. It makes sense for the collection. It's just not my go-to as a standalone palette or anything necessarily new to my collection. I mean, I can find this in other palettes. Hello y'all, it is Editing Brie. I was putting this video together and realized I totally forgot one of the palettes in the ranking, and it's the Eloquence palette. This is from Dee Signature, part of the Bloom collection with Makeup on Your Radar. And I cannot believe I did not include this in the original video. But this one is like my second favorite out of the collection. I think this one is the most cohesive, and I love the color combo with like the teal purple, and then you have like this berry shade, and all of the shades I think coordinate really well with this like very shifty shimmer that's in the palette. It's really beautiful. So this is a really nice one. I think this kind of shifts from like blue to like pinkish purple. It's really pretty, and it's somehow works so well with all the colors. And I love that there's a matte black, because I always use a shade like this to deepen out my outer corner. And you got all these options. I think the only true thing that might be missing is an inner corner highlight, but I can kind of get away with using this in my inner corner. But of course I don't mind pulling in other palettes to create completed looks, but I really do like this color story. So this was a second favorite from the collection. Then I have the other one that's in the Last Airbender collection, and this is the Air palette. And surprisingly, this is my favorite one out of all of them, because this one I think has more versatility. It has some warm, some cool tones. You can go nudie, you can go a little bit more grungy, you can even lean into this shade right here and this shade and get something a little purple and mix it with like the brown and this like kind of mauvey shade. So I think for a 9-pan palette you can do a lot more with these shades. And I love like this shade has like all these blue sparkles, and you have this beautiful taupey purple, this beautiful champagne, these gorgeous warm mattes, and then some cool mattes. You can do a lot. I think I only wish is that they had switched this beige shade out for something else, maybe like a lavender or a deep purple. That would have been amazing. It would have made it perfect. I'm surprised that that was my favorite though out of all of them. Now going on to this one right here from Unearthly Cosmetics. This is the High Temp palette. Really beautiful. If you want to create sunset gorgeousness, get a lot of warmth, I really think this is a good one, and I'm surprised this is higher than like some of my cool tone palettes, but I was really impressed by the look I was able to create with this and the other looks that I have done off of that, because you can go kind of purple, right? Then this yellow makes a beautiful inner corner highlight. You can get more goldeny, you can mix these shades, do a sunset, and I just love that there are some cool tones, and you do have this kind of taupey purple shade too. So it's not only warm. Like if I covered this row, you have a more purple cool tone palette, and then if I cover that row, you have a more warm sunset color story. So I think there's a lot of versatility in here, and I thought the quality was really nice. Now these shimmers are really foiled. They're not like shifty multi-chrome kind of shimmers, but they're very impactful and very sparkly. So I do like everything that's in here. That's why it's like right in the middle. I don't tend to do sunset looks a lot, but when I want a sunset kind of tropical vibey look, I would totally go for that palette. Then the next palette in the ranking, which I really love this, and this to me is probably going to be more of a highlighter palette for me, more like a face palette than an eyeshadow palette, but this is also from the Bloom collection. This is the Effervescence palette, and this was my favorite out of the collection because it's full of these really shifty iridescent shades that have different shifts to them. There's some that are a little bit more creamy, some that are a little bit more powdery in here. I think they make really pretty highlighters. They're great at as like accent palettes to other palettes if we need lighter shades. So like the ones that I said are more dark, I can pull this in and mix it in with those, brighten up the lid, use them as toppers. They're really stunning iridescents, and I think that for how much you pay for this, you're getting a lot, because shades like this from most indie brands tend to be very expensive. It could be like what, $10, $15 a pop, like from Cleona. Now I think the Cleona ones are a little bit more creamy and intense than these, but I still think you get really good iridescence for 25 bucks for all of these different shifty shades, and it's a good highlighter palette. Alright, it's Hot Mess Brie again, editing Brie. I realized I forgot another palette that I was editing, and it's actually the Lethal Cosmetics Mellow Grove palette. Don't know how I forgot this one, but this is a really beautiful, very interesting color story. It's like the burgundy pinks with greens, and I do feel like this is giving a retro glam from Natasha Denona. I'll put a picture of that one. I don't have that palette, but I feel like they're like similar in terms of vibe too. I'm sure it's not exactly the same, but the quality in here is excellent. Really nice buttery creamy mattes that are very pigmented, especially this one right here is so beautiful. I packed that like all over the front lid. I use it as an inner corner highlight. It's stunning. Then you do have some shifty metallics, and a lot of the metallics in here are just really sparkly. I do feel like Lethal has improved both their metallics and their matte formula. I love like their concepts, their color stories, their like marketing, everything. I think Lethal Cosmetics is a really cool indie brand. They're based out of Germany. So I would put this right at the middle of the ranking because it is still limited on how much you can do. I mean, you can do like a burgundy look, a nude look, a green, or mix the burgundy and the green, or mix the nudie and the burgundy, or the nudie and the green. But you're still like in a set kind of color story, color vibe. But I still think it's really excellent and beautiful, and I enjoy it so much. I think this is going to pair really well with a lot of other Lethal palettes that they have. So that was everything for this palette. Now we'll get back to regular scheduled programming. Then I have this one that is also kind of a set color story, but I feel like you can do some things with this. It is the Peach Perfect palette from Gourmande Girls. It is so cute, so adorable, and it is just so cute. I'm loving the mix of peaches and greens in here, and then there's some pink tones in here, some nudie tones, so you can do a really toned down nudie look with this, or you can go minty tealy, you can go more of like a intense smoky green. But I do maybe wish that they switched one of these lighter shades out for like maybe an even deeper brown, because I don't feel like this brown goes deep enough. And if you're not wanting to go green, I think a really deep saturated brown would have worked really nicely with this palette. But overall, it's beautiful, and Fuzzball is like a hollow chrome shade. It has so many different color sparkles, as well as Papa Don't Peach. Also love the names, love the quality. These lighter mattes are super pigmented too. And you do have a deep me shade. But like I said, a deeper brown would have been lovely within this palette to switch out some of these lighter mattes. I don't think you needed both of these ones here, but they are pigmented, especially peaches and cream. Makes a beautiful brow bone highlight, inner corner highlight, but it's a nice one. And then I have another grungy palette, which I put over the Natasha Denona one because it's not as expensive and it's pretty much similar color store and it's very high quality. This is from Lunar Beauty, the Moonshroom palette. I love it, and I think you do actually have more variety within this palette because it includes some like purple plummy tones with the grungy tones. You have more options in here. The mattes are really nice and pigmented. You have beautiful metallics, and I think these metallics are more impactful than Natasha Denona's metallics. They're very foiled and creamy and like those traditional metal metallics. They're not necessarily shifty duochromes or holochromes or things like that, but they'll do the job and give you that high shine metallic effect on here. And I love Lunar Beauty. I think their design, packaging, quality, color stories are very well thought out. You get really good high quality products from Lunar Beauty. Overall, I've just been really impressed by all their different collections. They're just so cohesive and well put together. Like they thought of every little detail. And then that brings me to the next palette, which is also Lunar Beauty. It's the Siren Sunset palette, but this is more my aesthetic, like with the cool tones, and you can get real smoky with this one. And I do love grunge. I mean, between the two, they're almost at the same spot, but for ranking's sake, I put this one a little higher because it has those cool tones, grunge, smoke, like you can just get really vampy with this one. This gives me date night. This gives me nighttime moon vibes. I think just the whole theme, the packaging just goes so well with the colors in here. And you can go very jewel tone and colorful, but you can also go more nudie cool tone. You can even go a little warm, like with Coastline. You can tap into these blues, the purples. You do have quite a bit of options. So this is a mix of like jewel tone colors with nudie shades, so very versatile, very high quality. And this one has shifty like black base multi-chromes, which I love those. I know most people like lighter metallics, but I love me a black base intense shifty multi-chrome. Like use one of these over like a black base. Oh, it looks so striking for like a nighttime look. Beautiful. And then the next one is also a cool tone palette. And the reason why I ranked this a little higher is because I really love the metallic formula from this brand. And it's the Amy Loves palette from Adept Cosmetics, a collaboration with Amy Loves Makeup. And I do watch her channel and she loves cool tones, but I really do love the metallics in here. Very shifty, intense. You do have some holochromes, some different formulas. Some are a little bit more flaky. And then you have these beautiful cool tone mattes. You can go more blue. You can go more grayish. You can even go a little bit more brown. But it's the metallics for me when it comes to Adept Cosmetics that really stands out and makes me really love their palettes. It's just they're special and you get so many different metallic formulas from the brand to play with. And I do feel like they're a little bit pricier than other indie brands, but I do feel like their formula is a little different from other indie brands, so it kind of makes them a little bit more unique. Like they're a little bit more creamy and full and like just more putty like, which could be a good or bad thing depending on your preference. And sometimes can be a little too creamy where it creases, but the impactfulness and the intensity of these metallics are just so beautiful. And I love me my cool tones, so that is why it's pretty high up there. Then we have Blend Bunny, which Blend Bunny always ends up somewhere near the top, but it's the Longing palette, which this one would be my go-to cool tone palette, but mixed with some grunge and cool tones. Like they put my two favorite kind of color stories together. I love my cool tones. I love my grunge. It's in one palette. So I feel like at the end of the day, if I wanted cool tone looks, I would probably reach for this one, maybe more than some of my other cool tone palettes. And more for the mattes. I do like the metallics from Blend Bunny, but they're not necessarily the most intense shifty ones. I think there are some shifty ones in here and they're very sparkly, but they just have a killer matte formula, a killer setup. It's so easy to think of looks to create with their palettes because how they pair everything together like with these monochromatic rows. So, you know, you see, oh, I can do purple, I can do teal, I can do a green kind of leaning cool tone olive look. I can go a little bit more like dusty blue. I just love the setup of their palettes, and they just give you a lot of options. They give you the range you need for mattes. You can do cohesive looks, and if I want extra sparkle, I have so many singles I can pull in if I want some more pizzazz with the shimmers. But Blend Bunny they just do something really good with their formula, especially in their mattes. That's the standout from Blend Bunny. Now the one at the top, which this brand always ends up at the top too, because they know how to pull on my makeup strings, my makeup love strings, because I love beautiful colors and really intense metallics. And it's Ensley Rain. It's the Cosmic Dreamer palette. This is their 2.0 version. I have the original one, and they amped it up with this one. They took it to the next level. They put way more pigmented mattes in here, more foiled sparkly shimmers. They have really, really pretty shimmers. The only thing with Ensley Rain is their palettes tend to be more pricey because they include so much like intense, shifty, special formulated metallics, more than mattes, which pulls on my heartstrings because that's what I prefer over anything else, is intense, shifty, sparkly metallics. They're always gonna win me over. But I do think their matte formula is really good, and I love that they did come out with some smaller palettes so they wouldn't be so as pricey as a lot of them, because their palettes are like in the $70 range. So making more smaller curated palettes can make the palette or their brand more accessible to other people, to at least get an introduction to their formula, so then they can see whether it's worth the higher price tag, you know. So I do like that they did those smaller little fairy palettes, even though they were still on the pricier side because they had special metallics in them. And I do have those palettes. I'll have to show you guys those very soon. But the formula, beautiful. The color story, beautiful. They just know how to put colors together. They just make things so ethereal and sparkly and beautiful and just stunning. I could go on and on and on. And you have so many options in here. So many colors. You can go pink, you can go blue, you can go olive, grunge, cool tone, warm tone. I mean, I think that this revamped version is just like the next level of amazingness. And then they even have some super sparkly holochrome metallics, flaky metallics, creamy, just all types of formulas to work with in here. But it's always been worth it for me because that's what I value when it comes to mattes and metallics and color stories. So I've always been happy with everything that I've got from them. But I know the price tag can shy people away, especially if you haven't tried the brand. Same with Adept and Beaute Bar is on the pricier side, but they do make really interesting color stories and really interesting formulas. So that was everything on my ranking. All of the palettes that I have recently tried and played with, created looks with, and overall I'm happy with all of them. None of them is an issue. I don't have a problem with the formula in any of them, and I love them all, and I'm happy to have them all in my collection, and I will continue to play with them. But you guys will now have to let me know, what are your thoughts in the comments below? Did you purchase any of these? Did you pass? What are you loving on? What's like your favorite palette this year? I would love to hear from all of y'all. And if you're new here and you enjoyed this video, you like a lot of fun, colorful makeup content, you like a lot on indie makeup and all that good stuff, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. I'd love to have you here. Also, don't forget to check out the description below. I will have all the palettes linked, all the videos that I've done using any of these palettes if you want to see them in action, see some different looks, and I will have my makeup link, like what I'm wearing, and the video of me putting this look together with my collaboration, which will be linked for you guys. And I will have my contact and my social media platforms. I'm also on Instagram as Brici Lifestyle and Brici_Beauty. So if you want to join my Instagram fam, I would really, really love that. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, for being here, supporting me, being amazing. I just hope all of you are doing well wherever you are in the world, and just sending you guys so much light and love. But until next time, bye guys.